Welcome back to Be a Kid in Clarkston. I'm Angela Avery, your host today, and a Clarkston area mental health counselor. Be a Kid in Clarkston features topics on whole child and whole adult development in our community. Today we are talking about literacy, the ability to read, write, and comprehend both. According to readingworksdetroit.org, a person who has low literacy may have trouble filling out a job application, reading a training guide at work, getting a driver's license, reading a map, understanding school permission slips, reading a prescription, that's pretty important, or an ingredient list, or even trouble reading a simple story with a child. Low literacy has significant economic costs to the general public, and according to Pfizer, costs upwards of $236 billion in healthcare costs. Low literacy is linked to employment outcomes, crime statistics, and social well-being. The most important factor impacting a child's reading level is his or her mother's level of education. So that's what we're going to talk about today. With us to talk about literacy in our community is Phyllis Ness, Elementary Literacy Specialist at Clarkston Community Schools, Lynn Reese, kindergarten teacher at Bailey Lake Elementary, and Erin Holmes, teen librarian from the Independence Township Library. Welcome to everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. This is a good topic. Mrs. Ness, let's start with you. What is Clarkston Schools' approach to literacy?
Well, Angela, our school district has really embraced what we like to call balanced literacy. And within that approach, that means that we recognize that there are several different components to a well-designed, best practice literacy learning program for our kids. When our kids come to our elementary schools, they learn to read, they learn to write, and they do that through a variety of times in their day. They begin with reading and writing workshop, for example, where they have large amounts of time to put pen to paper and read books of their own choosing. They also have what we like to call shared reading experiences, where the children experience the reading of one text all together with the teacher and the rest of their class. They have interactive writing where they share a pen and they compose a piece of writing as a class. They also have read aloud with accountable talk. Those are times when teachers are reading aloud to the children and then they stop the text and they actually talk about what's happening in the book with the children. Finally, we have word study, and that's a short part of the day, but it's where our kids learn the way that words work. They learn letters and sounds, for example, in our early grades, like kindergarten with Lynn, and in our upper grades they learn things like derivation of words. So all of those things are what compose our literacy program.
Oh wow, this is fascinating. Do we have any special programs in our district specifically for literacy?
Well, I believe that everything that happens in our classrooms is pretty special. Sure. First and foremost, I think our teachers really instill in their students a love of literacy. Teachers share their love of great books, for example, by reading aloud to their kids each and every day. They encourage book buzz, and that's where they talk about terrific books that they have read, and then kids share their favorite books with each other as well. Kids are exposed to many different types of reading in our classrooms. They read fiction books, nonfiction, historical fiction, informational text, mysteries, dystopian books. Whatever it takes to get kids super excited about reading, that's what our teachers are doing. Because we believe that every child will become a reader if we can just find the book that's right for that child. And so we want them to have books that match their interests and their passions as well. We also believe that proficiency as a writer is critically important in our literacy programming, and that begins with even our youngest learners, just telling stories, and that grows into composition of 3 different types of writing. Our teachers teach narrative, informational, and opinion writing to our children. Our teachers make writing special by firmly acknowledging and valuing the stories that our young children come to us with, and that those stories are theirs to tell to one another and to all of us. This leads us to that notion of choice, and we believe it's essential when it comes to writing, that when our kids put pen to paper, they're writing about things that really matter to them and about their own personal experiences, opinions they have about things like video games or restaurants or movies they've attended, as well as informational pieces that are, again, about things that they care about, sometimes even personal expertise. The child, for example, who's the soccer star can teach us all about soccer by writing a piece about that.
I can tell you're passionate about this subject. This is great. Do we measure literacy in Clarkston? And if so, how does our literacy rate compare with other schools in Oakland County?
Yes, absolutely. Our teachers use both what we call formative and summative assessments, and that's a very important and essential component of our literacy programming. Our teachers get information about their readers and writers through formal assessments like running records, where they sit down next to a child and actually listen to a child read a portion of a text. There's also informal means when they're conferring with a reader, for example, and looking at the Post-it notes that the child has jotted. But the goal is always the same. The teacher is truly seeking to identify the strengths of the child, as well as determine what will be those next steps of instruction for that learner. We really want teachers to be able to tell the story of this child's learning by looking at the child's growth over time, and that data helps us tell that story of learning. Traditionally, our Clarkston kids, and this goes back to your question about how they've done on tests, our kids have fared very well on our state assessments. In the past, that was the MEP. Now they take an assessment that is being referred to as M-STEP, and they've always done very well. They've traditionally exceeded the state averages when it comes to comparing them with kids across Michigan. And then even within Oakland County, our scores have been very comparable to our neighboring school district learners as well.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. What about teaching literacy to those with challenges? I'm specifically thinking of something like dyslexia. Can you shed some light on that?
Of course. First of all, I believe from the very bottom of my heart that everyone can be a reader and a writer. We celebrate the child that walks through our door, and we acknowledge the strengths and the gifts of that child, and then we want to help that child grow. They begin that literacy journey at very different places. Some of our kids come from homes where they've been read to. They've developed vocabularies based upon the conversations that have taken place and the extent of time that they've been involved in those conversations. The people around them make a huge difference when it comes to the literacy skills that children bring to us. Some of our children have not had those experiences, however, and things like sitting on the lap of a parent and being read to might not have been their home life before they come to school. So we start at a different place with those learners, and regardless of what they come to us with, we try to fill them with literacy. We want to bring stories to life. We want to grow and develop their language skills and really help each child grow as a reader and writer. Of course, some of our readers and writers do need additional support beyond the traditional learning that's taking place in the classroom. And so in all of our elementary buildings, we do offer intervention programs for children who would benefit from more individualized or small group instruction. And that's in addition to the learning that's taking place within their classrooms.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. I've heard that there will be a new mandate, I'm not sure that's the right word, that it comes about in third grade, and as it pertains to literacy, it's sort of a controversial issue. Can you help me understand what this is?
Sure. I believe, Angela, that what you're asking about is the legislation that is, I think, commonly being called the third grade retention bill. And that's legislation that has currently been approved by the Michigan House of Representatives, and now, of course, it's moved into the Senate. That bill is, as you alluded to, quite controversial because it would require schools to retain or hold back kids who haven't become proficient readers by the end of third grade.
Wow.
So I expect that we're going to hear a lot of opinions in the weeks and months ahead regarding this from people that sit on both sides of the fence with regard to this law. Because those folks that support it, of course, want to send a strong message that something needs to be done about the fact that so many Michigan children are not learning how to read. But yet on the other side of the fence, proponents would argue that retention is not the solution. And in fact, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of statistics that say that children who are retained are often our dropouts, and that's certainly not what we want.
Sure.
So those folks would advocate for more interventions and more support for those struggling readers rather than retention. It's something that I think is going to be very interesting to watch and pay attention to in the months ahead, because I do believe that a decision will be made regarding this very soon.
It sounds like, yeah, it sounds like we all need to pay attention to that. Okay, thank you so much for all of your information and your involvement in our community, of course. Let's turn to somebody on the front lines. Mrs. Reese, a kindergarten teacher at Bailey Lake. What kind of challenges are you seeing for literacy for the really young child?
Well, as Phyllis had stated earlier, our children come to us with varying different early experiences regarding literacy. We can't control the amount of time parents read to, talk to, or play with their children, but what we can do is build a positive relationship with every child, letting every child know how much we care and believe in them. We work hard to create these environments in our classroom where children feel or they fall in love with learning, and of course to help them see that the power of learning and reading and writing is happening in our rooms.
Sure. Okay, so what can we do to encourage reading and writing in our own children?
Well, I would encourage all parents to read aloud. I think that's the most important thing that I would be doing as a parent. Singing songs and reading poems and rhymes that have repetitive sounds. Maybe pick a day each week to visit the library and make it a really special event, something that they would look forward to. Model good reading habits. Write short notes to your children. They love getting the notes in their lunch boxes. And give them different writing materials to encourage them to write as well. A big thing that we really need to be thinking about in this day and age right now is restricting our screen time. Making a point in the evenings to turn off those electronics and read to them instead. So all of these things would really help build a strong foundation in literacy.
Okay, good. How important is reading to your child in utero? Do you know any research that says that you can improve your child's reading level if you're reading to them while they're in the womb?
Well, I wasn't really sure, I have to be honest. So I had to look it up.
Okay.
And what I was reading about, the news research is saying that it's suggesting that babies can listen to moms, or they are listening to mom's voices in the last 10 weeks of pregnancy, and that they can't necessarily hear dad's voice, which I thought was interesting. But I think the big thing that they were trying to get across was that to continue talking to your newborn is very important, and that's going to help facilitate language development.
Okay, so you really can't start too early.
Right.
Sure. If parents and grandparents are watching, Christmas is coming. So what are some great books to read for the young child right now? Like, what's cool?
Oh my gosh, there are so many great books out right now that I don't even know where to begin. As you know. Yes. Many of the books that I read to my kids and that I read to my kids in class are books that were read to me that I had as a kid, so I think that's really cool. And they're books that have won honors like the Caldecott Award, Caps for Sale. My kids in class love that. They love acting that one out. Where the Wild Things Are, The Little Engine That Could, Blueberries for Sale, or the newer books that they are in love with right now are Knuffle Bunny and Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. These are all great examples of classic children's literature that resonate with young children today. And the most important thing to remember, though, is to have fun when you're reading to your child or kids in the classroom. Make sure that you pick books that interest yourself and that would interest them, and really talk about them, and just let them see your passion for books and just to know how much you love to read.
Yeah, okay, so much great information, thank you. So I'd like to discuss literacy in our community with Erin Holmes, hi, from the Independence Township Library. So it seems like the library is always busy with events, and all kinds of things are going on. Can you give us some of the highlights?
Oh, absolutely. There are several amazing informational events for all ages happening at the library, and the best part about it is it's continuing to grow, and we're always adding new things. We still have our weekly story times that coordinate with various age groups and speak to their specific needs. These start at the very beginning with babies and work all the way up to our preschool-aged children. And what's also special about the library story times is that in addition to addressing literacy, we also work in a STEAM element to kind of help build a well-rounded informational programming and a well-rounded story time. We also have monthly literacy calendars that feature a different literacy-based activity. This includes everything from singing a favorite rhyme, reciting the alphabet, writing exercises, and more. Just anything that child and parent can do together and work on together and make each day a special kind of literacy-based day. While visiting the library, children can also visit our early literacy spot, and we have just a bunch of different games and activities that are all literacy-based that children can play while they're visiting the library. We also have a number of exciting events for older children as well. We have events featuring activities around literature's favorite characters like Big Nate and Pete the Cat. We're also having a Laura Numeroff party who wrote If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. We also have our Parent Tween Book Club for 8 to 12-year-olds, and this provides an opportunity to not only connect parents with books that their tweens might be reading, but also allow parents and children to share a love of reading together and really make it a family event. We have a middle school writing group that we just started this year in partnership with the Clarkston Area Optimist Club, which is very exciting. And young writers can come in to not only write, but share their stories and improve their writing skills. And we're also gearing up for our second annual Battle of the Books at Sashaball Middle School. We're very excited for this. This was a huge event for us last year, and we're so excited to do it again. And there's so much more to come, and we can't wait to share these exciting events with the rest of the community.
Okay, very cool. Are there trends right now in literacy that you're seeing at the library?
Absolutely. There are a number of wonderful and enriching trends that we're seeing right now that we've incorporated or are trying to incorporate into our own programs and services at the library. One of them is outreach. This to all of the schools, early childhood centers, preschools, the elementary schools, middle schools, junior high school, every school, in order to promote literacy and resources that the library has, in order to encourage literacy within our students in the community. And we try to do this through storytelling and through book talk. So it not only lets students know what books are currently available, but kind of gives them a heads up in finding that great next book. And it's also a wonderful opportunity for the library to collaborate with media specialists and teachers too.
Absolutely.
Another wonderful trend is connected learning, and this is something that we are doing more so with our teen patrons. And in order to create enriching literacy experiences, it helps sometimes to go directly to the source. And through our tween and teen advisory boards, we want to learn and create opportunities for them, or create learning opportunities for them in spaces outside of school. So what better place than the library? And so we get input from them in terms of what kind of programming that they'd like to see and what sort of services would be most beneficial to them. Additionally, their input has become vital in terms of creating a well-balanced collection that reaches all types of readers. And finally, a huge trend that I'm actually very, very excited about is the trend of graphic novels. Graphic novels utilize the comic book format of storytelling, balancing text and images to tell a complete story. And the beauty of this trend is that it is growing steadily and has moved beyond the classic idea of serialized comic books to something more sophisticated. And they're winning awards too, like Prince Awards and Caldecott's too. They're just becoming very lovely. And they also have the potential to reach every type of reader, early, reluctant, and even avid readers, and providing more opportunities for discussion and participation. And in addition to building new titles and authors, many classics have been graphic novelized. So books like A Wrinkle in Time and The Graveyard Book can find a new readership in this graphic novel format. And popular titles like Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson series or Big Nate can reach out to those who may be reluctant to pick up the big books and start getting children excited about reading using this new format.
This
It's
is
very
really
cool.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. What kinds of resources does the library have for adults and senior citizens?
In addition to our children patrons, we also have a great place. It's a great place for adults and senior citizens. We have a large print collection for those who may have difficulty reading books with smaller print, as well as a vast audiobook collection. A wonderful service that the library offers is our homebound delivery service, in which residents 18 years of age and older who have a physical disability can select books in our collection and have them delivered right to their doorstep. It's very cool. The library also features 2 different adult book groups, one that meets Tuesday evenings and the other Thursday mornings. And these groups select books across all genres and meet to discuss them once a month. So they're reading everything from nonfiction, fiction, science fiction and fantasy, every type of novel they decide to pick for their group. We also have book group kits that provide the opportunity for those interested in hosting their own book clubs the opportunity to do so. And in addition to these great services, we have a local writers group that meets once a month, as well as a plethora of databases that have everything from magazine titles to learning to speak languages to finding information about a specific author or title, and job resources too, in terms of utilizing easier methods of filling out applications and updating your resume and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one other question. Does the library have any literacy programs for older adults who are really learning to read at this point in their life?
This is actually a great question for our adult service, our head of adult services department. As of now, basically what we do is we use the Oakland Literacy Council as the best reference for adult learners because they're specially trained to help adult learners read. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
Yeah.
We have a lot of programs. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I know I enjoy using our Independence Township Library, and I hope the community values it as a great resource. Thank you to everybody today. This has been a really informative show. So we'll see you next time on Be a Kid in Clarkston.